T-minus 1 minute. T-minus 30 seconds. We are go for launch. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the NASA Social for the Crew Dragon mission as we prepare to launch America.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back again to NASA Social, the virtual version. I again am Yves Lamoth. I am with the Command and Control Systems Project Manager in Exploration Ground Systems. Again, enjoying our beautiful background here with the Space Shuttle Atlantis at the KSC Visitors
Visitor Complex.
Visitors Complex. I am so sorry about that. I'm a little starstruck because we have starstruck because we have a special guest with us today. But before I do that, let me first introduce my partner in crime here, Josh. Josh, how are you doing today?
Yves, on a scale of 1 to 10, my excitement level is a 135.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And for all the space buffs out there, they're going to get that one.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm doing great. I'm so glad that you could join us live for a Q&A session with a very special guest. So be sure to ask those questions in the chat windows there, wherever you're watching online. Definitely we'll take those in a few minutes. And that's really, that's today's show, is we're having a really good kind of conversation here with well, Yves, I'll let you introduce our guest.
All right, so listen up, guys. And before I do that, I hope you've been enjoying all the shows that we've had for you. The means is to educate you guys and show you guys what goes on kind of behind the scenes before we get ready for such a historic moment. All right, now, with me, right, the reason that I'm so, I'm in fan mode, a little tongue-tied a little bit, is because we have our very own NASA Deputy Administrator, Jim Morhard, with us. Jim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Yves. Josh, I really appreciate you having me here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Now, of course, we have a live audience that are watching. I'm sure they'll have plenty of questions for you. But first, if you can just start introducing yourself, let us know who you are, what you're all about, and we'll get to learn a few things about NASA from you.
You know, the Deputy Administrator of NASA is really, I'm to help Jim Bridenstine, who's the administrator. And we've laid out a vision for NASA, and it's really, I would say it's one campaign with 3 domains. And the one that is going to be addressed tomorrow is low Earth orbit. But we're also looking at the moon, cislunar space, as well as Mars and deep space. We're focused on all 3 of those different campaigns, and we're working hard in each one of those areas, and hopefully we'll get into some of what we're doing today, and I look forward to the questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that
Sure.
great introduction. And before we get going to the questions to the audience, how long have you been the NASA Deputy Administrator now?
I was confirmed by the U.S. Senate back in October of 2018. So it's been about a year and a half.
And so that's been probably the most exciting time of your career thus far, correct?
It has been the most exciting time of my career, and the most challenging, too. NASA does the impossible, and that also means it's very difficult. But it makes it for a lot of fun, and the intellectual stimulation, as well as the wonderful people at NASA I've been blessed to be there. That's
Well,
the best way I can say it.
They say that, you don't do things because they're easy, because then everybody would do them. But I'd like to tailor that with, it takes great leaders as yourselves, right, to lead a group of us to get out there and do these amazing things like space travel.
Yeah.
It's not an easy feat, and we appreciate your leadership and everything that you're doing for the agency to get us to where we're going.
Well, we're always trying to make it better, and we're all human, and we make mistakes too, but we certainly are doing everything we can, and I'm confident tomorrow is going to go well. It's amazing. We'll talk about just some of the processes of what it takes to get humans into space safely. And that's what we're going to do. That's our #1 priority tomorrow.
You got it. So now I definitely want to go ahead and get the questions from the audience, because you're here. They want the most of you as they possibly can. So Josh, I'm going to head it over to you. If you would please let us know, what does the community have to ask?
Yeah,
right now?
absolutely. Let's start with just a question. I want to make sure we get a little bit of background on you.
Yeah.
Just because obviously you've been with us for about just a year and a half now.
Yeah.
So hopefully a lot more days and years to come. But as you look towards not only, obviously, what's your past, and then kind of the future. The first question out of the gate was actually, what is your vision of the lunar economy in the next 10 to 15 years?
Yeah, now again, when we talk about lunar, we are talking about how we make space travel affordable. We know the financial problems and challenges we've got in the world and in the United States. And we're looking to get to the moon. We've just awarded 3 contracts to commercial providers that are going to design and develop landing systems. And they'll compete on what those landing systems are. But we really want to be a customer to those commercial providers, so that we're going to provide the demand to start off with, and they're going to be the suppliers. And we're going to be doing things on the moon, really starting with precursor missions. But it's really looking and seeing, we know there's water ice at the South Pole. And it's our intent to at first demonstrate whether we can convert that water ice to oxygen and hydrogen for propellant. And I'm not saying we can do that, but we're going to try. And if we can do that, with the gravity well of the moon is 1/6 that of Earth. So the cost of launch is going to be a lot cheaper going from the moon. So if we can get those those elements up into space to Gateway, it's possible that we can move forward and slingshot out to the deep space. So we're really looking at the moon as a stepping stone for the future.
Wow. Awesome. And can you give us some background on yourself? Just kind of what's the 30,000-foot view of your career?
Yeah, grew up in Virginia, got a MBA and a law degree from Georgetown, have an accounting background, ended up in the United States Senate, was working on the Senate Appropriations Committee, reviewing large agencies such as the Justice Department, the parts of the Defense Department, the Commerce Department, the State Department. Ended up as the Chief of Staff for the whole committee, so really responsible for passing all the legislation for the federal government. And then had some personal challenges, was in a plane crash actually, and got through that, and Senator McConnell asked me to come back as the Deputy Sergeant at Arms. And that's really kind of like running a small city. And while I didn't think that would help as far as NASA goes, understanding general counsel, training, all the different things, the administrative part of running an organization has been very helpful. And thank goodness I had that experience, and thank goodness he gave me that opportunity. But that got me to NASA.
So what's that like on the career level? Because obviously I'm fairly young in my career, and it sounds like those amazing jobs you just listed, like it almost feels like you're like, there can't be any more. There can't be any more.
Yeah.
There can't be any more. And there's like another amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, and now like you're #2 for NASA. Like that's amazing.
You know, all our paths, we all have a story. And the path that we're on, each of us are on, is not a straight path. And it's really understanding that. And when you're zigging and zagging, it's trusting that you're gonna, that you are, there is a plan. It's just not your plan. And you've got to trust in that and keep moving forward. And I think if anything kept me going, it was just having that faith that this would work out. And I continue with that today.
You know, I guess I kind of look at it as, you know, in life, as you journey through life, opportunities presents itself.
Yeah.
And do you capitalize or do you pass on it? It really depends on, you know, where you are with your career, what you want to do, what your interests are, what your passion is. So now a quick question for you. Do you wear your cape inside or outside the shirt? 'Cause
my friends would tell you there's no cape. But, you know, that you make a good point. And look, there are times we all have difficulties in our careers. And it's understanding that this is part of the plan. And it's keeping calm. And, you know, this is not a crisis. And there's a reason why this is happening. And I'm going to keep moving forward. May not be in a direct line, but I'm going to keep moving forward. And that's served me well through my life.
Now, in line with that, do you enjoy what you're doing with NASA?
I do. I mean, look, it gets down to people. It gets down to relationships, enjoying the present moment, enjoying being with you two today. I mean, I'm enjoying this. And you've got to stand back, breathe, and enjoy where you are right now, not what you just did and not what you're going to do next. And that, to me, is part of the trick to life.
Amazing.
So at hand for NASA, so not today, but tomorrow, literally tomorrow.
Yes.
We're flying crews back to space station from America again. Super exciting. So as we do that, as we prepare for that moment, I heard you earlier today in the media briefing mention that we are going to have, as a result of and I'll poorly set this up and let you correct me and finish this thought. That with the commercial crew program, we're going to be having 300% as much research happening on space station. Did I get that right?
Yeah. If you look right now, we have Chris Cassidy's up there right now. We have one astronaut on the space station, and Bob and Doug are going to get there, and I know Chris is excited to see him. But Chris is limited in the amount of work he can do as one astronaut. In fact, we just had HTV-9, which is a Japanese cargo mission, just delivered a lot of material up there, including batteries that need to be installed. And Chris needs Doug and Bob to get those installed. But with that, when the intent is that we certify this end-to-end flight test. And if it's certified, then we'll start launching crew up to the space station to stay for much longer periods of time. And if we have a full complement of crew, which is what we envision, then we're going to be able to, as you said, Josh, increase our research by 300%. And when I say research, you think about some of the things we're doing. We're working towards mass-producing retinal implants at the space station. We're working on creating human tissue. We're looking at trying to make fiber optics, have a purity level much higher than it is to reduce the amount of relay stations that are needed. It goes on and on about the different things that we're doing there. And this is about supply and demand. There is an overwhelming demand for research. We don't have enough of a supply of astronauts. But what we're really looking to do is, again, going to commercialize low Earth orbit. And that includes creating commercial space stations that will meet this demand in the future. That's really what our goal is here. Not to mention, you think of commercialization of low Earth orbit. Just in the commercial launch vehicles, it wasn't too long ago we had no market share in commercial launch vehicles. We now have 70% of the market share in the United States. So we're going to keep going with it though, and there's a lot more we can do in low Earth orbit.
Cool.
So I was going to say, in line with that, we're talking about the commercial aspect. At NASA, we are also working on the SLS rocket, to get us back to the moon and Mars and beyond and such. So how do you see this love story, if you will, right, between the commercial aspect, the NASA aspect, and bringing humans into space travel and space tourism, and how do you see that in enveloping like over the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, Yves, there are economics involved, and we have to watch the economics.
You mean it's not free?
Yeah, it's not free. I'll tell you what. I know that for sure. But it really, when you look at going to the moon, and you mentioned it, it's the Space Launch System, and the Orion space capsule, which really has done. The Orion is here at Kennedy now, ready to go for Artemis 1, and we're got. The SLS rocket is at Stennis Space Center. I watched it go from Michoud to get barged over there. It was pretty exciting. The thing is very large, I might add. But we are getting prepared to continue with the Green Run, which is really where we really test all the systems of the Space Launch System. And we're going to light up those 4 RS-25 engines.
Yeah.
And that is going to be a sight to see. I mean, for those that are old guys like me, there's an old clip of John F. Kennedy watching as they lit up the Apollo engines, and that's going to be a showstopper.
Yeah.
But it's putting all that together, along with Gateway, along with the human landing system that I mentioned already, and so this is a system to get us to the moon and get us to the moon by 2024, and then allow us to be there in a sustainable way. So we can do the development and research we talk about, like in situ resource utilization. So am I answering your question?
Yes, absolutely.
Let me jump on that, because there was a question that came in actually, and it was the question kind of ISRU you just mentioned, in situ resource utilization. What data do we hope to gain from the new moon missions, the Artemis program, that may help when going to Mars? Yeah,
I mean, first off, it could be, and I'll talk about ISRU, but then we'll talk about some of the other things that we need to do. But with ISRU, in situ resource utilization, we've got to prove economically that we can do it. And there certainly are entrepreneurs out there that are very interested in it. Especially when you've got asteroids that are, have a nickel core, and we may be able to mine asteroids too. But those economics have to work, and that's part of this, demonstration that we've got to see how this goes. But again, if we can do that and start using some of the assets within the moon to go further into space, and it may be that we'll be able to do it at Mars and then go to the next planet or the next moon that we want to go to. So I think that's the hope, is that we may be able to hopscotch eventually across the universe. We obviously can't bring all the materials with us, so we're going to have to create it, and we're going to have to afford it. So, and it really gets down to that, and that's where the commercialization is so important. So as far as going back to the other part of the question of the other things we need to do, you think about Bob and Doug. You think about what is the most complex system on that rocket tomorrow. That's the human system. And that's what we're most concerned about. Well, it's going to be the same way on the moon. You've got radiation exposure that we have got to address before we send people out to Mars, for instance. These things, these are serious issues. For those who follow it, there are plenty of things we've seen as far as bone loss, reverse blood flows. There are a lot of different challenges. We've got to address each one of those for long-term space travel, and we're going to be doing that on the moon, as well as making sure that we can sustainably live off Earth, and we're going to be doing that also on the moon.
Probably just one or two more questions. This one kind of switching back towards the commercial crew program, tomorrow's flight being the first with crew on board. The question, I'll kind of summarize a little bit here. Basically, it was thinking about both an American and international set of activities. Who do we expect to be the astronauts aboard Crew Dragon and Starliner? Starliner being Boeing's space capsule. So is this just Americans? Are the international? What's the plan?
You know, we haven't named, folks. We haven't gone out too far yet. I know that we're going to have an astronaut from Japan on one of the first launches of, I think it's Crew Dragon. I'm pretty sure, as I recall. But we certainly want to bring our international partners with us. They're critical to our efforts, and we've seen it with things like the robotic arm that Canada built. And there's a lot more coming, and whether it's ESA or Japan. But, we also have many new space agencies, and so we really want to be inclusive. Apollo, it was exclusive. We didn't mean to be, but it was, and it was really white test pilots, military test pilots. We want diversity. We want diversity at NASA. And it's been proven. I mean, we get much better intellect and results if we do diversify. So we want our international partners, and we want to continue to have diversity in NASA too, I might add. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, no, I think so.
Amazing.
Again, it's just that nature of with the Crew Dragon and Starliner. How does that work with international partners? And I think you nailed that one.
Okay. So I kind of want to touch a little bit on, what's going on in Jim's head, right? So tell me what is the most exciting part for you leading up to tomorrow's launch?
Keep in mind, as well as I do, the visuals are very exciting. Mm-hmm. To have humans strapped in on top of a rocket is exciting. But there are many processes that go into this, many complicated processes. And really watching the flight readiness review, the launch readiness review, all the different processes that we have, that we've worked closely with SpaceX. We really collaborated with SpaceX to do this. And that's what I enjoy. I come from a background of looking at large organizations and how do you make an organization better than it's ever been. That's what I enjoy doing. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not saying I've accomplished it, but that's my goal at NASA, is try, leave no trace, and hopefully left NASA a better place than it was when I got here.
Now, would you take a trip up to space if you could?
If I had the opportunity, I certainly would. I don't think you're going to get a 63-year-old guy up there. I was friends with John Glenn, actually. I
was going to say, how old was he? I think he was older than 63.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He was.
So
I actually,
you got time.
When I was, my dad worked at what they call the Naval Air Systems Command. He was friends with Alan Shepard.
Wow.
But one day, I was 6 years old, and I was in my parents' Ford station wagon. The thing was so old, it had a hinged window on the back of it. And I remember my brother taking me out of the car and walking up to some house in Arlington, Virginia. And this man opened the door, let us in. I pet the cat. He gave me a glass of water, got his autograph, and that was the first time I met John Glenn.
Wow.
And I ended up in the Senate, and I get to meet him again. We're working together. I was on what they call the Military Construction Subcommittee. He had the same subcommittee on the Armed Services Committee. He was the chairman. I was just a staff guy. But he was the same kind, gentle man. And I shared that story with him, and we both had a great laugh. But he was an amazing individual.
Cool. Wow. Wow, that is simply amazing. Do we maybe have time for
we're out
one
of time.
more?
We got to
Out
let
of
Jim.
time.
Jim is a busy guy, so he's got to go.
Okay, so Jim, if you can just wrap it up for us, just kind of tell us, where you're going to be, tomorrow for the launch. What are the things that you're going to be thinking of, and what do you hope for, or the message that you want to lay out to all the people that are watching you right
Yeah.
now? What message do you want to give out to the folks there?
Yeah, tomorrow I've got doing a lot of media in the morning. President and Vice President are coming, along with parts of the cabinet, parts of the congressional delegations, and certainly want to make sure that all that's going well. I am not involved in the inner workings of this launch. I'm going to be an observer and making sure everything's going as well as I can. But it is, and I'm going to leave that to the professionals to do it right. The message, I know that there are a lot of people that are suffering in this country and in this world. And tomorrow, we hope to inspire the United States and inspire the world. This is a generational achievement, and we look forward to having more of them. But this is what we do at NASA. And yeah, it's been challenging with COVID, but we're not out, and we're coming back, and we're going to keep going. So tomorrow we're going to light that candle, and it's Go DM2. And I hope you'll all be with us watching.
Awesome. Well, Jim, thank you so much, not just for your presence here, but also for your leadership, your passion of what you do, and all the things that you aim to do for NASA. Us as employees, we get to reap the benefits of that. It's having great leaders like yourselves at the top doing these great things that allow us to do what we can down here. So
I'm honored to be with you guys, East and Josh.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's a win-win. With that, folks, I definitely hope you did enjoy this segment here with our NASA Deputy Administrator. It's not every day we get to sit down and talk and get to hear your words, from you. And hopefully you guys got some of your questions answered. With that, we're going to close it out, and I'd like to invite you all to come back around 4 o'clock for our pop-in speakers. We're going to have Steve Payne and Dana Hutchinson who will be talking to us. Josh, thank you for riding along with me.
We got the 3 o'clock too. Don't miss the 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. I'm sorry about that. Yes, 3 o'clock. We have
We're
on the
excited.
3
There's so
o'clock
many
as
good
well.
shows.
Yes, so many good shows. Guys, stay tuned. Come on back. Keep your questions coming, and thank you for joining us and letting us educate you a little bit about what we do here at NASA. All right? We'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.